What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of El Jardín Perdido. Today, we're building a greenhouse. Alright guys, so we are at the end of October in Houston, Texas, and for those of you locally who know around this time, the weather just got crazy and went down to like 40 last night, which is kind of odd for this time of year. 40 isn't really a breaker, it's not going to kill most any of my plants, but I do have a lot of seedlings and stuff. So basically I'm making this video to show you my modular greenhouse. Basically I have these, technically they're 4 feet high by 3 by 3 feet. And yeah, so I have a few sections of those I can like put together or take apart if I have too many or too little plants, which is kind of cool. But I figured, since I was banging that together in a hurry, which you'll see from some of the footage, that I'd share this with you guys because it is a real nice rudimentary way to put together something to protect your plants. While I wouldn't call this, you know, a conventional greenhouse, it definitely serves the same purpose. The main thing for an enclosure like this or anything to protect your plants is really just to kind of mitigate fluctuations in temperature, which this does an amazing job of. It doesn't have to be 80 degrees in there or something crazy. It does get surprisingly warm. I don't have a thermometer in there this year right now. They kind of got too humid and pooped out. But in the past when I've checked it, it's easily been 15 up to 20 degrees warmer in the greenhouse. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk you guys through just roughly how to build something like this, and then I'll go ahead and show you the finished product. So in the modular sense, these things are in little kind of not quite cube, but rectangular, cubish type forms, and you can put them together and then wrap the entire thing. It's pretty cool. One thing I'll share with you guys about me is it's one thing when I'm grafting and walking you guys through certain things, especially last night, we got a cold snap, and that's not something that I really want to film like I'm doing now. I'll talk you guys through it now. I'm gonna reference some of this footage to make sure that everything's covered, but really I just put my cell phone on a tripod and let it run. So basically I got some timber. I got 2x2s that are kind of for the vertical pieces, 4 vertical pieces that are going 4 feet high. So I got 2 2x2x8s, and I cut them in half to get 4 4-foot sections. And then for the framing, you can either, there's a number of ways to do this. I didn't want to like do dovetailing or anything crazy like that. Literally banging this thing together. So really it doesn't have to have that much structural integrity because you're just going to be wrapping it in a clear drop cloth. All right, so the other parts of the top of the frame were going to be 2x1s, nice and light. This is actually pretty good, and I've never had any problems with things blowing away. They've been through a lot of wind and different things like that. So the main thing is that it's structurally sound enough. You know, we're going to wrap it with the drop cloth afterwards, so it really doesn't need that much. Another thing, when I was showing you this video, I guess I kind of had plans in my head that I just kind of went off of. So basically in the past I'd gotten 6x1x2s and just cut them in half, so I had 3-foot sections. So it's basically 3x3 and then 4 feet tall, which is pretty good. And structurally, if you use those 2x1s, they're not insanely tough. So if you made it too big, you might run into some problems. So I found I have some of these that have lasted for years, and yeah, they work great. So 3x3 on the top and 4 feet on vertically. So yeah, as I was saying, I bought 8x. So my first instinct was cut them in half. I kind of remembered basically the plans I used last time, but instead of getting 6 foot long, I got 8 foot long, cut them in half. So I actually had to go back and recut all of them. But another factor in that is I actually reinforced things by using kind of braces, and so those little 1 foot pieces actually worked to an advantage for me. As far as the nails, I just used 1.5 inch standard nails to basically put everything together. And then once I did, I used, I think, just a couple of 2.5 inch nails to really secure everything in. One thing you want to be careful of is not splitting. Like I said, this is run and gun for me, so I didn't pre-drill, I didn't use screws, which you are free to do. This was literally like, I'd done this before. I have a lot going on in my personal life, so when the temperature drops like that, I don't have a lot of leisure time, so I literally did it, that night. So after I got the structure made, I admittedly have not really tended to my nursery. I kind of separated the cold hardy from some of my tropicals, and I organized everything. I actually repotted a lot of things. Anyway, once I got everything organized, I packed it kind of like Tetris, as closely as I could to each other, because another factor in this is the thermal mass, which brings me to another thing. I have a bucket in there that I fill completely up with water, and this not only adds thermal mass to prevent too much fluctuation, it retains a lot of heat, and it also slowly dissipates heat too, so you're not getting crazy fluctuations. So yeah, I've also had this in the past. Even if the sun comes up bright in the morning and all of a sudden the temperature goes way up, that actually keeps things from getting too crazy too. The other advantage is the humidity aspect. A lot of my plants in there are tropicals, and so yeah, they're going to thrive on humidity. Humidity is also going to keep the temperature in check. Worst case scenario, if it freezes outside as well, that humidity is going to prevent frost, if it doesn't get too low. So yeah, once I had everything organized and where I wanted it, now is the drop cloth. And you'll see in this that I used 0.7, I guess it's millimeters for the thickness. And I know in the past, I didn't see it there. I got the thickest I could. But I would recommend like 1 millimeter. I think they make a 1.5. But yeah, the thicker the better. Really, as long as it's somewhat transparent, even if it's white, you're still gonna absorb some of that sunlight. But what I did, since the only thing they had at the store was 0.7, I did double wrap a lot of it. And you'll also see in the video, there's a lot of excess. And again, I am by no means, even the way I cut, all the timber and stuff, I didn't make clean cuts. I was just really run and gun doing this. Basically, you'll get to points where you'll have a lot of excess, and I'll fold it over and use it just as another layer. And then on the bottom skirt part, I'll actually tuck it in and pack it in, and that adds insulation. The way I built these things, they're not completely flush to the ground, but I'm also building these in a carport that's not completely level. And that's why I'm not super paranoid about getting levels exactly right on these. Yeah, so to get everything secured and make sure there's no air drafts or anything, I just used staples and a staple gun. I guess it was 3/8 of an inch or 10 millimeters. So one of the other things is running a heat lamp in there. In the past, I've had 2 at a time. I think if I get a forecast that's gonna be super freezing, I might drop another one in there. But basically, I just ran some wire in there and clamped it to the top, and make sure that none of the taller plants are right next to the lamp or they'll get singed. Another factor of crowding in everything too is you want to pack everything in so you're making as little space to heat as well. All right, so you guys have kind of seen the visual aid, but I'm going to go ahead and take you over there right now and kind of walk you through anything that I may have missed. All right guys, so I've been doing a little cleanup around here. I'm not quite done, but this is the gist. No fancy doors. I just use urbanite or concrete to keep things down. And both of these flaps open up. Easy access to maintain plants, water, etc. Just feeling that, I mean, it's definitely, I'd say at least 15 degrees warmer than it is outside. But I have everything packed in really tightly. You'll see I have a lamp up here, and actually this plant's probably a little too close to it, but unless it gets really hot, it should be okay. And so on the other side, you can see everything else. But yeah, really easy. Not a lot of maintenance. You'll also see back there I have the bucket tucked away in pretty close proximity to the lamp as well. All right guys, well that's gonna do it for today's video. Hopefully you thought this was informative. I know greenhouses in general can be very intimidating, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Actually, I've salvaged some windows, and I did plan on making like this elaborate greenhouse, which between the temperature dropping so quick and then the C word that's been going around in this time, I haven't really had time to get to it. Being that they're windows and frames, I really want to take my time and make something nice and ideal. But getting into that, the reason why I had no problem throwing this up is because A, it's modular, and B, you didn't invest a bunch of money, and it's easy to take apart or even repurpose. The reason why I had to put that together is because I repurposed one of the modules last year to do a few projects around the house. I forget what it was. But that's kind of the beauty of what I'm doing here. No fuss, no muss, not a huge investment. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to comment below if you have anything to add or you have any additional questions. And consider subscribing if you enjoyed this, you're into this kind of thing. I do all sorts of videos of this nature. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for today's video. As always, thanks for tuning in. Until next time.